This is the abyss that humanity has stared into for millennia, the single most difficult question we've ever faced. In the dark archives of our history, we've found a way to cope with this chilling silence, and that is where our journey begins. Greetings, and welcome to the Somber Scribe, where we open the dusty archives of human thought, and thank you for joining me on this journey to examine the narratives we've forged in the face of suffering. For millennia, across every culture and spiritual path, humanity has grappled with this profound paradox. If divinity exists, why does it permit such pain? Why does it often remain silent even as empires fall and innocents perish? To reconcile this stark reality with our yearning for meaning, as humans have forged narratives, crafted archetypes, and woven complex mythologies around the very concept of a divine indifference. These were not always direct pronouncements descending from on high. More often, they were ingenious, heartbreaking, or sometimes even terrifying constructs born from our deepest fears, our relentless struggle for control, and our desperate, universal need to make sense of the senseless. So let us journey through the sacred texts and historical interpretations of various spiritual traditions to uncover these human-forged archetypes of divine indifference. While this problem of a seemingly uncaring creator echoes across countless belief systems, we'll delve into prominent examples from Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and Hinduism, exploring the very lies we've told ourselves, the gaps we've tried to fill with cosmic explanations, and the profound psychological reasons why these difficult concepts were not just accepted, but often revered, becoming the enduring bedrock of faith for millions. Across the vast tapestry of human belief, the archetype of the indifferent creator or the silent divine manifests in compelling ways. While their solutions and rationalizations differ, the core human dilemma remains constant. In the history of Judaism, we find a powerful narrative of this struggle in the book of Job. Here, a man of unwavering righteousness is stripped of everything: family, wealth, health. Not for sin, but as a cosmic wager between God and a celestial accuser. There is no clear explanation for his agony. No divine comfort offered in his suffering, only a powerful demonstration of a force that operates far beyond human comprehension or conventional justice. The words themselves, profound in their resignation, paint a picture of an ultimate power that gives and takes as it sees fit. Regardless of human merit, defying all human notions of fairness, the Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Job 1:21. This passage, often seen as an affirmation of unwavering faith, can also be read as humanity's profound attempt to rationalize overwhelming, inexplicable loss. It's a powerful psychological coping mechanism, forging a narrative of ultimate divine sovereignty, even when that sovereignty appears utterly indifferent to individual agony. Historically, during periods of immense persecution, this archetype of a distant, mysterious God who tests and tries became not just a belief, but a terrifying yet enduring framework for survival, a way to find meaning in an otherwise absurd reality. And in Christianity, the story of divine suffering culminates in the crucifixion, where God himself suffers. But beyond this central sacrifice, suffering persists for millions. The concept of original sin, born from an ancient tale of disobedience, becomes a universal human burden, a divinely sanctioned flaw that seems to predestine us for hardship from birth. This pervasive idea necessitates suffering as a natural consequence, rather than a divine oversight. To explain this inscrutability, a common verse adopted into Christian theology emphasizes the vast gulf between divine and human understanding, often employed when answers to suffering are elusive. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. Isaiah 55:8. This verse becomes a human-forged shield against questions of divine cruelty or indifference. It implies a grand, inscrutable plan beyond our understanding. But for countless individuals throughout history, facing devastating plagues like the Black Death, brutal wars, or personal tragedies. This explanation provided little solace beyond an appeal to faith. It became a powerful means to maintain belief in a benevolent God while sidestepping the uncomfortable reality of pervasive suffering, often shifting the blame onto humanity itself or an unknowable divine will. Moving to Islam, the concept of qadar, divine decree or predestination, holds immense theological weight. Every event, good or bad, is ultimately part of Allah's unchangeable will, meticulously recorded from the beginning of time. This creates a profound sense of submission and cosmic order. But from a human perspective, it also presents an architect of suffering whose design is beyond questioning, perhaps even indifferent to individual pain. As everything that occurs is by divine design, the Quran itself states this fundamental principle. No disaster strikes upon the earth or among yourselves, except that it is in a register before we bring it into being. Indeed, that for Allah is easy. Quran 57:22. This truth for believers can bring profound peace and comfort in adversity, knowing that all is part of a greater plan. But for the curious mind, it highlights how humans forge concepts of ultimate, unquestionable power to explain and thus endure the harshest realities. It's a psychological framework that transforms chaos into divine order, making suffering a test, a decreed event, rather than a random, meaningless catastrophe. In Hinduism, the notion of an architect of suffering takes a distinctly different, yet equally profound shape. Here, suffering is often explained not by direct divine decree from a personal God, but by the impersonal, relentless law of karma. Every action, good or bad, carries consequences that echo across lifetimes in the cycle of samsara, or rebirth. The divine, in many interpretations, particularly the ultimate reality of Brahman, is not an active intervener in this cosmic ledger, but an ultimate truth that simply is, detached from the individual's karmic journey and personal suffering. The Bhagavad Gita, a central Hindu scripture, speaks of the importance of detached action in this grand cycle. Perform your prescribed duty, but never claim its fruits. Never let the fruits of action be your motive, and never be attached to inaction. Bhagavad Gita 2.47. This human-forged system provides a robust explanation for apparent injustice. Suffering is a consequence, a debt, or a lesson, rather than an arbitrary act. But in doing so, it creates an architect that is not actively cruel, but profoundly indifferent to individual pleas or desires, operating purely through cosmic laws. Beyond these widely recognized faiths, we find powerful echoes of this indifferent architect archetype in countless other traditions. Consider the Gnostic concept of a lesser, flawed creator god, the demiurge, who crafted an imperfect material world, a prison of suffering from which true spiritual beings yearn to escape, or the often capricious and unconcerned deities of ancient polytheistic pantheons, whose interventions were driven by personal whim rather than human well-being. These two were human responses to the stark reality of suffering in a world that rarely seemed to prioritize human comfort or justice. Why did humanity, across these diverse traditions, find it necessary to forge such formidable concepts of an indifferent or seemingly cruel divine architect? The answers lie not in the heavens, but deeply within the human psyche, driven by fundamental fears and profound motives. The most primal among these is the fear of chaos and meaninglessness, a universe without inherent order, where suffering is truly random and without purpose, is terrifying to the human mind. Forging an architect, even an indifferent one, is our desperate attempt to impose order on that chaos. To give the void a reason, however grim. It's a fundamental cognitive strategy, a story we tell ourselves to escape the unbearable thought that our pain might be utterly meaningless. These narratives of divine indifference or ultimate decree also often became powerful tools for human control and power. If God's will is unquestionable, or suffering is a cosmic test, then existing social hierarchies, injustices, or even the authority of religious leaders could be justified. The divine wills it became a convenient truth, maintaining order and obedience for centuries, exploiting human greed for certainty and stability among the masses, and often stifling dissent or radical change, effectively reinforcing the status quo. Perhaps the biggest lie we collectively forged was born from a profound paradox: how to maintain belief in an all-good, all-powerful deity while experiencing overwhelming, horrific suffering. The answer, ironically, was to create a divine being whose ways were so far beyond us that its seeming indifference became an unfathomable wisdom. This psychologically eased the tension, offering a resolution to the cognitive dissonance, but often at the cost of human autonomy and direct understanding. It shifted responsibility from the divine to the human, or to the unknowable, thereby preserving the divine's benevolent image, or at least its omnipotence. Crucially, these forged narratives also served as profound psychological coping mechanisms for collective trauma and individual despair. When faced with unbearable pain, a structured explanation, even a harsh one, could offer a pathway to endurance, a narrative for survival, allowing masses of people to make peace with the unyielding realities of their existence, providing a sense of cosmic justice or ultimate purpose. Even in our secular age, this human impulse persists when faced with global pandemics, climate disasters, or systemic injustices. We still subconsciously seek an architect for the chaos. We might blame fate, the universe, the system, or karma without deeper inquiry, still clinging to narratives that explain away our pain, sometimes at the cost of genuine human responsibility or deeper, uncomfortable truths about our own roles in creating or enduring suffering. But humanity's response to the architect of suffering isn't just passive acceptance, or the continuous forging of explanations. Throughout history, we've also forged archetypes of defiance, of resilience, and of radical meaning-making in spite of the perceived indifference. The very act of questioning, of seeking understanding, is itself a powerful counter-narrative. Perhaps the true architect of meaning is not a distant, indifferent divine, but humanity itself. We are the ones perpetually forging narratives, both comforting and challenging, to navigate the inescapable mystery of suffering. From the existentialists who declared we are condemned to be free and must therefore create our own meaning in an absurd world, to the humanists who place compassion, reason, and shared responsibility at the center of human endeavor, to the Stoics who teach acceptance of what we cannot control and mastery of what we can, our internal responses and virtues. These are powerful human-forged paths to liberation, offering frameworks to find meaning and purpose without relying on external divine explanations. The simple act of human connection, empathy, and collective action in the face of suffering often proves to be the most profound response to an indifferent cosmos, a powerful counterforge of hope, built not on abstract decree, but on tangible compassion and shared human purpose. In your own life, when confronted by what feels like an architect of suffering, what narratives do you choose to challenge? And what meaning do you ultimately choose to forge?